Okay, BBT live. BBT live from California. So, today I worked legs and I seem to be feeling on cycle now because even though I am sitting on a bicycle cycling, my body also seems to be on cycle because of the way that it's reacting to my training. So when I'm off cycle, if I lift as heavy as I can and I lift as intensely as I can, I'll hurt myself and become injured. Hello, Universal Jazz. So when I'm on gear, on cycle, I actually have an ability to work harder for longer in the gym. I can just maintain intensity for longer and just keep going. That I literally cannot do it when I'm natural. I literally cannot push myself probably even more than 50% as hard as I can when I'm on cycle. Like, I'm always trying as hard as I can, but it's like when I'm natural, I may only be able to put or on TRT, not natural, but just on TRT, yeah, 250 milligrams test a week. I may be able to lift heavy, but only for like 2 or 3 sets during the workout, and then it's not gonna happen anymore. But when I'm on cycle, I can keep on doing heavy, super intense sets for like an hour non-stop. Like, it literally changes my body's ability to exercise in such an insane level. Like, I can see how the reason why athletes that aren't on PEDs can't compete with athletes that are on PEDs, because just to say, like, 100% me on TRT or me natural cannot compete with myself on cycle. I cannot, because I just don't have the same physical abilities. It's like I'm a different person. I have a different body. Everything reacts differently. The way that I feel during my workout, the energy, my recovery between sets, how long I can go intense, how much mental drive that I can just tell myself I'm going to lift heavy and I'm not going to stop, changes on cycle. And I can't compete. My off cycle self cannot compete with my on cycle self. Same as athletes. Same as athletes. Ryan Frame says, "What up, evil clown?" from Jeff Nippard's Nightmares. You guys, that was a pretty funny video, wasn't it? Because I've had a lot of comments from people, and even when I comment on other people's YouTubes, people will reply to my comments and say something about evil clown Jeff Nippard. So I think that video, people who saw that really liked that. But it's only had 2,000 views. So you guys, if you like that Jeff Nippard video, you should share that on your Facebook or something, because it's just like a funny, like, satire video, so it won't screw up your reputation to tell your Facebook friends or something that you've been watching Dan the Bodybuilder from Thailand, the steroid user. You naughty kid. You don't want anyone to know that you've been looking up steroid videos on YouTube watching me. But the Jeff Nippard video, it's not going to incriminate you. So you can go ahead and share that on your Facebook. And let's everybody share it all over the place. If you're watching this, share that Jeff Nippard video. Let's get people, let's get Jeff Nippard to reply. Let's get him to reply. Move to Intercept says, "Have you been able to gain back most of the strength in your leg?" Yeah, I actually did really quickly. So, you remember when I posted that video where I was working out at Venice Muscle Beach? And there was also like pictures and stuff like on my Instagram at Bodybuilder in Thailand. And you could see, I was back to 235 pounds at 5'9". I wasn't like contest ripped, but I was ripped enough that, all my abs were showing and shit. If you want to go check that out. And at that time, I was back to squatting 315, so 140 kilograms for sets of 10 reps below parallel. Putting my hips not parallel with my knees, below parallel with my knees. So, and I was also doing rows off the floor. So rows like where you reset it like a deadlift each time. So I guess it's called a Pendlay row. But I was using the same weight for that. I was using 140 kilograms or 315 pounds for sets of 10 reps. That's also on YouTube. You can watch me doing that. It's also on my Instagram. But yeah, those bent over rows, pretty sure they're on YouTube. So that was all within, I was doing all that again by February or March. So only 3 months after I had the leg thing happen, my strength was back in my leg. And now, I'll show you my leg. There's my leg. So, it's just a scar now. It's not it's a really huge scar, but it doesn't, the skin is actually, it's grown enough skin now, so it's not so tight anymore. It used to be really tight and burning all the time because there wasn't enough skin, so it was like always under tension. There wasn't enough skin to fit around my leg, so it was always really under tension. But through that tension, it's grown more skin because of that mitosis. The skin cells underwent mitosis because of traction on them. That's how people grow their ears, you know, with gauges, by putting that traction, that pulling force on them 24 hours a day. That's what my leg had, and so it has now grown enough skin to where I used to not be able to pinch the skin around where the scar was. It was too tight, but now I can pinch the skin. So there's a little bit of slack. John asks, what do I think of HCG? I've been talking about HCG a lot lately, so I'm not going to talk about it in this live video because I've probably talked about it like every live video for the past 3 or 4 videos. But I use HCG year round because I don't like having small, shrunken testicles. And I had shrunken testicles for a while. And then about a year ago, I decided, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not one of these bodybuilders that says, oh, well, they just get in the way. What are they good for anyways? I don't let bodybuilding take over my life like that. I gotta keep some sanity in here. So I had to grow my balls back, and I did that by starting using 500 IU of HCG year round. And now and the other thing too is that when you don't use HCG, you've been on roids for a long time, or even not a long time, you stop producing sperm. And so when you blow your load, barely anything comes out. And HCG solves that problem too. So yeah, fuck that. Fuck sacrificing your life for bodybuilding. Bodybuilding should be a part of your life. It should be a total integration. Most of us here are not the retards trying to be Mr. Olympia and kill themselves with drugs. So we shouldn't be following their modus operandi. And you should be thinking for yourself. And that means having testicles, because what fucking man doesn't want to have their testicles, okay? That was not something, you know, I knew what I was getting into before I started taking gear, started taking roids, started shooting steroids. But you know what? I decided that I want to have testicles. So now they're always full size, full working, and you know, they're always getting under me and shit. You know, like I'm trying to sit down on the bench, I'm trying to sit down in a chair, and my balls are getting in the way. I'm trying not to sit on them with my thighs or whatever, you know, because you've got huge thighs, because I'm a bodybuilder. So now that's the way that my balls are, is they're always getting in the way now. They're always getting in the way. The combination of having full-size balls and huge bodybuilder thighs means that there's not enough room for your balls, so you're always noticing them. You're always noticing them. They're always getting caught under my legs and shit. All right, I'm gonna go back, answer some more questions. Universal Jazz says, any advice for a newbie trying to lose weight and gain muscle at the same time? Yeah, when you first start going to the gym, if you are not already experienced, you don't need steroids, you don't need supplements, you don't need anything. If you just start going to the gym and you're a beginner, you will start gaining muscle and losing fat at the same rate as someone who has been in the gym for a long time and they just start using steroids. The gains that you make when you're a man and you first start going to the gym, the first like 2 months, the first like 8 weeks, it's like you're on steroids. That's the gains that you will make in your first 2 months natural going to the gym is the same rate of progress that you'll make on steroid cycles later in your gym career. So, you know what I would really recommend if you do want to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time is I'd recommend going either on starting strength or Mad Cow's 5x5. These types of powerlifting programs, they're full body workouts. You do squats 3 days a week. You do bench press twice a week, overhead press. And you're doing all compound exercises and you get stronger and more muscular and lose fat at the same time. So that's what I'd recommend, doing Mark Ripto's starting strength. Okay, Armesh Singh is on 500 milligrams Test E, week 6, not feeling anything. Is it normal not to feel Test E? Home brewed. Okay, so the thing is, and I did a Q&A on Bodybuilding Knowledge Bro YouTube channel yesterday about my first cycle. And I started with testosterone 600, and after a month, I was very disappointed, and I started using Trenbolone. And then I got what I wanted. That was my first cycle, and I ended up staying on that for about 18 weeks. 350 milligrams Trenbolone acetate per week, and 600 milligrams of testosterone and anthate per week. And that got me what I wanted. You know, the testosterone alone, it made me bigger, but it didn't make me more muscular. It didn't make me more muscular at all, actually. It made me appear more smooth, but it just made everything bigger. My face bigger, my muscles bigger, my stomach bigger, my arms bigger, but not more muscular, just bigger. And that's generally what testosterone does. That's generally what it does. It doesn't really, it makes you bigger. And then the look that you want, you know, like the look that you're always thinking, wow, that looks so cool. That looks so alien and unnatural. That kind of look, that's from taking other steroids. That comes from taking stuff like Winstrol or Trenbolone or Primobolan or Anavar or Anadrol or Dianabol or Superdrol, or like Trenbolone, Primobolan. It's like the testosterone. Like you said, Armesh, you just now commented, I saw it and said, yeah, you are bigger. That sounds about right. The main effects that you'll really get from testosterone when you first start taking it, and you'll know, oh, this is real, is you'll start getting itchy, burning nipples because you'll be getting estrogen side effects. That's the first thing that you notice when you're on authentic testosterone, is a weight increase. The first 10 days that you're on it, you should increase about 10 pounds. And that's the cosmetic effect of the drug. You know, you start putting the drug in, your body takes on more fuel storage and water. So in that first 10 days, you put on about 10 pounds. And then just in general, you're bigger and you make slow, steady progress over time. But you don't get these big kind of bursts the way that you do if you take, something like a Dianabol or something like that, where, if you take that, then, the kind of gains that you'll be experiencing will be more shapely. They'll be more shapely. And then also the type of weightlifting that you'll be doing, your gains will be more explosive. So you'll do something like go to the gym, and every workout, like every chest workout, you'll gain 2 to 3 reps on your bench press with the same weight, and be able to increase the weight and stuff like that. That's the way that generally is. That's the way that generally is. So I hope that answered your question, Armesh. Is Jeff Nippard natty? No. Somebody ever asked if I used a certain brand pharma, and the answer is no. Baby Maharaja says, do you like Jim Stepani? You know, I haven't watched him, but I've seen pictures of him, and I think he claims like being natural or something. So I'm really not into people who are like being dishonest. Like I just don't like it, man. I just don't like it. Because it's like, you know what? I've been to places where gear isn't bad. It's not thought of culturally as bad. So when you, like, say in Thailand, for example, when you walk into a pharmacy and ask for what you want, you don't have to know some password or something. You just say it. It's not illegal. And just in Asia in general, everyone already knows. There's no fake natty thing there. So if you're big, everyone already knows you use hormones. And it's not like a big surprise or some secret or anything like that. It's just the way it is. And no one, they like it. They tell you that they're on them too. And you know, there'll be small guys that don't look like they're on them. They'll be like, yeah, this is what I use. And they'll be excited to talk with you about it. So once, you know, after I've been in that where it's like everybody's just normal and people aren't lying and being like freaking deceptive and shit, it's like, and then coming back here or just having to deal with people who aren't honest about what they're doing. I don't like that, man. I don't like, why am I alive? Why am I alive, okay? The reason I am alive is to like do things, right? And I want my connections with other people to be based on like honesty, loyalty, and integrity. Okay, I don't want to be playing pretend. So playing pretend that people are a way that they're not. So, you know, if people are playing pretend that they're natural when they're really on steroids, I don't really want to talk to you. It's that much, you know? Because I'm not here living on this world to play pretend. I'm not living in this planet to play pretend with people. I want honest, authentic, loyal relationships and friendships. So if someone's a fake natural, they're gonna have a hard time convincing me to be their friend. All right, Unknown Instrumentals, what's up, man? How do you fix a messed up sleep schedule? Okay, so the main thing with this is that we're all on a circadian rhythm. So your body, it adjusts to the sun, and that's the way that it naturally wants to be. So you never want to be like fighting against nature. Every time that I'm fighting against nature, that's when things don't go the way that I want them to, because nature always wins. Nature always prevails. You cannot fight against it. It will always win. It's the way things are, and it's the way things always will be. So I used to stay up till 4 or 5 a.m. every day, and then I'd sleep until, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. This was back when I was like 20 years old or so. It's more of a young guy thing, late teens, early 20s. That's usually the type of guys who are doing that. But I felt like shit doing that, I knew it was wrong. I had that voice in my head. We've all got that little voice in our head that whispers to us. It knows, the right decision and the wrong decision. Every time you make any decision, there's always that voice in your head that's, saying whether, this is not a good thing and you're hurting yourself, or, you are doing a good thing and you're not hurting yourself. And, when I was staying up real late like that till 4 or 5 a.m. every morning and then sleeping in past noon every day, that little voice in my head that's always there telling me what's right and what's wrong was telling me, this is wrong, dude. Don't do that. So nowadays, I go to sleep at about 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock. And I wake up at 6 to 7 a.m. every single day. And I do that without an alarm now. So that's part of that is getting older, because I recently turned 30. A month ago I turned 30. So part of that is getting older. But then the other part of that is that now I wake up with the sun. When the sun's coming up, that's when I wake up. And then when the sun goes down, I don't stay up much longer than that. Yeah, pretty much. And I feel much better. I feel much better going to sleep early and waking up early. And hi, Dennis from Denmark. So something that I've noticed that my best work always happens in the morning. And I'm sure that you guys that are listening to this know that too. When you first wake up, it's like until lunchtime, you know, that time period between when you wake up and lunchtime, it's like you can work like a maniac. And I've got to have that. I've got to take advantage of that every morning when I have this like burst of energy, you know. Everybody knows that that's the way it is. That's why people say, you know, wake up early and start getting stuff done, you know. Like the wise man is early to bed, early to rise, because everyone knows that this is true. So that's kind of what motivates me now to get to bed early and to wake up early, is because I know that I'm going to have that energy burst every single morning when I wake up. And I know that that's going to be my prime time to do my best work. So I'm looking forward to that, and I don't want to waste it. And so when it's time to wake up, you know, I'm up. And when it's time to go to bed, you know, I don't have the phone on. I don't have the computer on. You know, I go into my dark room. I put the fan on me so I can't hear anything. And I'm not sweating. And you know, I go to sleep. I don't believe in taking sleeping drugs because they're pretty damn dangerous. Like benzodiazepines, like Xanax or something. So addictive. You can get like physiologically dependent on that kind of stuff. Like especially alprazolam, Xanax. You can get like a physical dependency on that. If you take it like 5 days in a row, or like 4 or 5 days in a row, you like will not be able to sleep without it after that. It's so addictive. It's insane. It's a physical addiction though. That's the weird thing about it. So I don't really think taking medications for sleep is a good thing. Somebody asked, or AJ asked, can Proviron replace Masteron in test trend Masteron cycle? Yeah, so Proviron is basically the same thing as Masteron. They really don't react differently in your body. The effects are nearly identical. They're interchangeable. And it's about like milligram per milligram too. Like 100 milligrams of Masteron per day is pretty comparable in effect to 100 milligrams of Proviron per day. Very interchangeable. Except I'm not sure, yeah. It's pretty much the same. Somebody asked, do you use Kratom frequently? So, an unknown instrumental said he used to be, addicted to Xanax. Yeah, dude, Xanax is so addictive. It's absurd. So, it's better to just stay away from that kind of stuff. Better to stay away. So Ryan asked, do you use Kratom frequently? Kratom's great. So I actually made a Kratom video today, but I didn't post it because it had an audio problem. So I got this microphone recently that I've been using, and that's why some of the sound has been better, especially like on the guitar videos and stuff like that. The sound has been a lot better. And when I was mixing the Kratom in the glass today, I was banging the spoon against the glass, and yeah, it can be slightly addictive. And the microphone was really picking up me banging the spoon against the glass, so that it was like super annoying. So I didn't post the video. I'm gonna redo another video. I might post it tomorrow, a new Kratom video, because Kratom has so many benefits. And yeah, somebody just now said, Jason said it's a little bit addictive. Okay. So here's the thing with Kratom. It's as addictive as coffee is. Now, there are people who have had, who have claimed to have more severe addictions to it, but that's not going to happen unless their behavior is just absurd, okay? Because you can take up to an ounce of kratom per day, and if you want to stop doing that, if you've been taking up to an ounce of kratom daily, for a month, let's say for a month, because you've been in extreme pain or something like that, right? And because it has a similar pain relief properties as pain pills do. So people use it for that instead of taking pain pills, because people, understandably don't want to take pain pills and be addicted to them. So some people use kratom to help with that instead. And so if you've been taking an ounce a day, which is too much, you shouldn't really take more than 10 to 20 grams a day. But I've had to do it in the past when I first started using kratom, the first year that I took kratom, which was every day because I had a repetitive motion injury, so I was using it so that I wouldn't have to take pain pills, was that you can come off of it. And it takes 2 days to get back to normal off of that, right? So the first day, yeah, you feel like you have the flu, you feel like shit. And then the second day off of it, then you feel like pretty much, kind of like maybe a little annoyed, but kind of like back to normal. And then the third day, you're back to normal. So it's pretty much like stopping coffee, because if you've been drinking coffee, all day throughout the day, like, at least 3 times per day, if you've been drinking, a large cup of coffee at least 3 times per day, I know tons of people do that, and you go and try to stop, you're gonna have withdrawals, and you're gonna feel like shit the next day that you stop. So the addictive properties of kratom are pretty similar to the addictive properties of caffeine and coffee. But the thing with kratom, other than pain relief, is it is an incredible antidepressant. Incredible. Okay, if there is no light at the end of the tunnel for you, if you feel that you cannot feel pleasure because you're in such a bad emotional and mental state, simply taking the kratom can make, an hour later, you feel this light at the end of the tunnel, or you just feel like everything's gonna be okay. There's a specific effect of kratom that it puts these feelings into your mind of everything is gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be okay. And it's, like I said, it's an incredible antidepressant. It's incredible. I'm gonna talk more about kratom in the video that I'm gonna do for you guys, but, other than testosterone, so I didn't use kratom while I was in Thailand. I've probably used kratom a grand total of 10 times in the last 7 months while I've been back in America. So it's not something that I've been using, all the time. I didn't use it at all in Thailand, but I did use it before I went to Thailand. Other than testosterone injections, if there's one substance that has helped me blaze my trail in life or blaze my trail in the world, it's kratom. It's kratom. It is a very, very powerful plant that is very underrated and unknown. Its leaves, kratom it's a tree it's called Mitragina, and it grows in Thailand and Southeast Asia. It's a tree, and it has big leaves, and the leaves are about this big. Each leaf is bigger than my head. And what the kratom is when you buy it is it's those leaves. They've been picked, and then they've been dried, and then they've been crushed into a powder, and you eat the powder. And that's the leaves have chemicals inside that have all these effects. So pain relief, antidepressant, and also helping you feel like there's that light at the end of the tunnel, and just feeling like at peace with the world, at peace with the environment, at peace with the surroundings, able to do what you want to set your mind to without having a lot of resistance to have to overcome. Yes, that's the other thing. Unknown just now said that he knows a lot of people who have used it to get off of other things, to not experience withdrawals. It is incredible at preventing withdrawals. If you have any addictions or anything like that and you need to get off of something, if you take the kratom, okay, and you won't have the withdrawals. Many people use kratom to get off of heroin, okay? That is a known use. Actually, Coach Trevor, if you guys know Coach Trevor, Coach Trevor, okay? If you know him, you know him. If you don't, you don't. So he used to be addicted to heroin and used kratom. Well, at least at some point, used kratom to kick his heroin addiction. Because it prevents withdrawals, and it does it with other substances too. Whatever really substance, if you've got an addiction and you want to get rid of it, if you can get kratom, usually you can replace it with kratom, and then the kratom, you can just, once you're done using the kratom to get off of the other thing, then you can stop taking the kratom, and it's not that big of a deal. Like I said, if you've been taking it consistently every day throughout the day, it takes, 1 day of feeling like shit. And then the second day, you're like halfway okay. And by the third day, you're back to normal of being off of it. So it's nothing too extreme. Incredible stuff. One of the cool things that I've been noticing, over time is that there's so many cool things in nature, like the plants and medicines that are available naturally in nature, that it's like all the drugs that drug companies sell, a lot of them are like knockoffs of these plants, and you don't need them. Like, the only reason why those drug companies make them is they study the plants, find out the effects of the chemicals in the plants, and then since they can't patent something that's natural, they go and they make alterations to the chemicals that they found in the plants, and then release them as pharmaceutical drugs, and then go back and make the plants illegal so that they won't have competition. It's freaking crazy. It's freaking crazy. So I've been a big believer in natural medicine, Chinese traditional medicine, and herbs and things like that. I think that for the most part, medications are not necessary, and what we need to be healthy can be found in nature. Yeah, so Holy Adonis said, I ordered some T3 from EA and didn't feel anything from it, even at 100 micrograms. Do you think it was garbage? Yeah, because you feel T3 like a motherfucker, okay? That stuff makes you so hot, especially at 100 micrograms, like you said. Red, so hot, dripping with sweat, out of breath, weak, hungry all the time. T3 is very, very strong, and it's so strong that if you are on a steroid cycle and you add in T3, generally you'll stop gaining muscle because it's so potent and catabolic, really. It burns muscle, even on gear. It's really powerful stuff. It's T3 can overpower all your gear, even if you're on something like Trenbolone. So if you did not feel it at 100 micrograms per day, then it was garbage. What's the best thing you can buy in the Thailand pharmacy for power in the bedroom, huh? You know what? Proviron. Because Proviron, that's OTC in Thailand, Bayer Proviron, and that, it's like sex drive in a tablet or like in a pill. Like, it's like it produces the urge. So that would be the number one thing. But then like Viagra and Cialis are available OTC. Well, actually, in Thailand, there's guys on the side of the street selling Viagra and Cialis. It's pretty funny. There'll just be guys on the sidewalk selling it. And yeah, it's all potent, it all works. And usually the stuff that isn't name brand though, the stuff that's generic, you don't want to buy the stuff that's actually like the brand name Viagra or Cialis, because that's probably a fake Chinese knockoff. But if it's like a generic brand from India or something, and you see it being sold by someone in Thailand on the side of the street, chances are it's legit. But yeah, I don't, if you've got Viagra for the cat, and then you've got the Proviron for the brain, that's pretty much all you need. Those are both readily available in Thailand at any pharmacy. Even if you go out in the boonies, in the countryside where there's no foreigners, only Thai people, they've still got Proviron out there. And they've still got Viagra in like every pharmacy, Proviron and Viagra. So that's interesting. I think that, hey Damien, good to see you in here, bro. I think that things like Viagra and Cialis are pretty interesting. So Cialis, Viagra and Cialis were both researched and developed as blood pressure medications. They weren't looking for medications to make people's dicks hard. They were looking for medications, they were trying to create one that would lower people's blood pressure. And so they were researching this category of chemicals called phosphodiesterase type 5 inhibitors, okay? So that's abbreviated PDE5 inhibitors. And those, it just so happens that in the penis, there's the phosphodiesterase type 5 enzyme is like the main controlling factor for it having an erection. And so but the way that the PDE5 inhibitors, they work is by you inhibit that enzyme, the phosphodiesterase type 5 enzyme, and it makes the blood vessels relax and dilate or get bigger so that blood flow is easier. And so that's why it reduces blood pressure. And that's why it was being studied for that reason. Because, if you've got a set volume, so say you're shooting, let's imagine a straw, okay? A straw is your vein. And you've got a straw and you're putting 10 milliliters of water per 10 seconds through that straw, okay? Well, for that 10 milliliters of water that's going through that straw, there's going to be a certain amount of pressure inside of that straw. Well, now if you make the straw bigger, now there's not as much pressure in it anymore. And so when you relax your veins or your arteries, that's like your veins or your artery is a straw. And when you relax them, it makes them bigger so that the blood flows through more easily, and that drops your blood pressure. So that's why Viagra and Cialis were being researched for blood pressure treatment. And then, during the clinical trials for the blood pressure, they made the drug and everything. And they were researching it during the clinical trials, and they noticed some crazy side effects. And that was when they started marketing PDE5, phosphodiesterase type 5 inhibitors, as sexual medication instead of as a blood pressure medication. They noticed the side effects. But anyways, a good, because having high blood pressure is serious. That can kill you. It will kill you. And steroids increase blood pressure. So you've got to do stuff. Make changes to your life to make that not be a problem. If you see any bodybuilders on Instagram or YouTube that are eating a lot of junk food, and they're doing a lot of diet starts tomorrow, or showing off, like, look at all this pizza I can eat, look at all this cereal and ice cream and cake, you know, that I can eat and still look like this. If you eat like that and you are on steroids, oh my God, your blood pressure goes berserk. It goes berserk. Because it makes you, the steroids make you retain so much more fluid and carbohydrate fuel storage than you otherwise would. So then you're packing more volume inside your body, which then, you know, that's like filling up the tube. You know, we were talking about the straw, and you know how much you've got going through the straw. Well, you know, you pack on, you know, you eat that junk food, and your body responds by pulling in tons of water. And you know, you see these guys with the bloated faces and everything, the round faces, and eating the junk food on the gear gives you massive high blood pressure, because the gear already gives you the high blood pressure. But you can do things with your diet to make it not have the high blood pressure, okay? So the thing is that if you don't eat the sugar and you limit your carbs, you won't have high blood pressure, because you won't take on that water. Because the whole thing with the water, and also like water retention on gear, is it's always related to carbohydrate consumption. Because for every gram of carbohydrates that you take in, 2 grams of water comes with that. So if you eat 1,000, you know, if you eat 1 kilogram, let's say you eat 1 kilogram of carbohydrates, okay? Well, now you're gonna have 2 kilograms of water that come in with that, and they're forced to be in there with your body. So if you put on, so 1 kilogram that's 1,000 grams of carbohydrates, or 2.2 pounds worth of carbohydrates. You will also be bringing, you know, 4.4 or 2 kilograms, 4.4 pounds of water in addition to that, you know, 2.2 pounds or 1 kilogram of carbohydrate that you ate. So you will actually, instead of only gaining, you know, the 2 pounds from eating the carbohydrates, of the volume of the carbohydrates, you will actually, because of drinking water throughout the day and it's sticking to you, you will actually gain 6 pounds for every 2.2 pounds of carbohydrates that you eat. And it heavily increases your blood pressure. So the whole key to keeping your blood pressure down is not eating too many carbohydrates. And yeah, that's gonna have a limit on how big you can get too. It's not healthy to be really big. It's not. It's very unhealthy to be really big. You know, if you're a guy who's, you know, like me, you know, 5'9", 5'10", average height, and, you know, average weight for a guy around that height is like 160 pounds, 150 pounds for a full-grown man. If you're 220 pounds or 230 pounds, that's the same weight as being morbidly obese. And the only reason you're able to get that heavy and be muscular, if you're that height, is because you're on steroids. So that it's the same strain on your body, and it's going to have the same effects like high blood pressure and being prone to that, as being fat would do. So that's one thing that I talk about in the book. I have a whole section devoted to this, which is the importance of eating clean while you're using performance-enhancing drugs, because this is so bastardized and perverted by these showboats. Because the whole thing about taking, you know, being a bodybuilder and taking steroids and stuff is it attracts people. A lot of times people who want to do that are people who have, you know, heavy insecurities, and they want to be better than you. They want you to be below and they want them to be above. And so they want to show themselves doing these things that you can't do, and having that body and being better than you. You know, eating the bad food and showing off like that, and haha, I'm better than you. Look at my genetics. You know, it's not genetics, it's drugs. But you know, that's the mindset that they're coming from when they do that stuff with showing off the junk food and everything. And this is why I wrote this section in Ultimate Guide to Roids about, you know, my book, about the importance of clean diet, because eating A non-clean diet when you're on steroids is what kills bodybuilders. That is what kills bodybuilders. So you have all these bodybuilders that die around 50 years old. You know, they get heart attacks or they get strokes. This is because their cholesterol is destroyed, their lipids are destroyed, their blood pressure is destroyed because of their performance-enhancing drug abuse. And then on top of that, they're eating like shit. They're eating junk food. They're not eating only clean, natural food. And they, you know, have supercharged their engine being their body. You can't put unleaded fuel in a supercharged car. You have to put premium grade fuel or else it's gonna clog it up. But a normal car can handle regular fuel just fine. It's the same thing when you're on gear and you've supercharged your body and you start eating junk food. That is putting unleaded fuel, standard regular gasoline, in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini because you've hot rodded your engine by taking those PEDs. And it's gonna clog that engine and it's gonna kill you. So that is the leading cause of death. It's the reason why all these bodybuilders die around 50 years old or so. It's because of them abusing performance-enhancing drugs and simultaneously eating a bad diet. That's why they die. These guys that you see doing this on Instagram, on YouTube, they're gonna die. They're gonna die early. These guys are gonna die in their 50s or their early 60s. They'll be dead. They won't just not be bodybuilding anymore. They'll be dead. So that's the role models you guys have, and it's unfortunate that you have to see them. And guys that do that, it's irresponsible. They know it's irresponsible when they're doing that, when they're showing you the junk food and saying like it's all this big funny game. Doing that all the time and stuff. And how it's so funny and so cool that they can do that and still look like the way that they do, and how jealous you should be. They know that what they're doing, they know it's so irresponsible, and they know that, you know, they're killing themselves. But you know what? Misery loves company. Misery loves company. They're doing that. They're not gonna stop doing it. And you know what? They probably want you to die early with them, because that's the kind of people they are. The kind of people that are in this industry, man. It's absurd. Like, the longer that I've been in this industry, the more I've learned that, like, these people are really, like, grade A pieces of shit. Like, these are the type of people who like, there's no loyalty, just zero. Sociopaths. But you know, especially on here, I get reached out to by a bunch of guys who are cool. So I've met a lot of guys here off of YouTube and Instagram. And you know, one thing that I do like too is the guys who want to do consultation calls with me. We always talk and we always become friends, because during the consultation calls, when we talk about, you know, whatever, if they want to do a consultation about, you know, their gear questions or whatever, or going to Thailand, or working online, being an online, you know, making your income on the internet, you know, we always talk for 1 hour. That's a pretty long time. But the way that we talk, it's always like a conversation. And so if you talk with someone, you know, for an hour, you usually become pretty good friends. Or at least, you know, your acquaintances, your friends, your acquaintances. So always enjoy that. Always enjoy that. Enjoy meeting other guys who are not irresponsible. They're more like normal guys. They're not these obsessive, crazy bodybuilders. Most of you guys that reach out to me from here are not these obsessive, crazy bodybuilders who, you know, have psychological problems. They feel very, you know, because the typical bodybuilder has psychological problems, feels very inferior to everyone else, and you know, because of that, abuses their body with drugs, and you know, then deals with their emotions with food. Very destructive. But the guys that I meet from YouTube, most of you guys that are watching this, most of the guys that talk to me, you guys aren't like that. You guys are just normal guys who like the lifestyle. You're normal guys who like the lifestyle, you like the bodybuilding lifestyle, and you're interested in the stuff and you want to learn about it. You're not psychopaths. So that's the same kind of guy that I am. And it's nice talking to you guys and seeing that I'm not the only person out there who isn't like literally willing to die trying. You got rid of your high blood pressure by doing fasting. Yeah, fasting will help a lot with high blood pressure, mostly because you're not taking in carbs. If you just stop eating carbohydrates and or only eat them after your workouts, and other than that, just eat meat and stuff, or meat and fat, you won't have high blood pressure. That carbohydrates like are the cause of high blood pressure. Even on gear, if you stop eating carbohydrates, you will not have high blood pressure. I'm not a medical doctor, but this is my experience and the experience of many others. Dan Monaco says, what would you recommend for lower back injury recovery? Yeah, so the injury recovery for the lower back, foam rolling, you got to lay on that foam roller and roll it across your lower back. But also there's you can use a ball, a hard ball, and this is more effective because it's more intense. You put the ball, it could be like a baseball, or it could be a croquet ball or a lacrosse ball. It's got to be something that has the texture of a rock. It doesn't give. And you put that under your back, and you roll around with it, and you put all your weight. You know, you lay down, put it under your back, and then you lift yourself up so that the only points of your body that are touching the floor is your feet, and then the other point of your body that is touching the floor is the part that's on top of the ball. And you know, so you have your full body weight laying on your back on top of this ball, and you roll it around on that muscle tissue down there, and it breaks up all the adhesions that form from injuries and just from training from long periods of time in general. All these adhesions form between the muscle fibers, and they don't allow them to relax. So then you get these muscles that are constantly contracted all day long. You can feel them too. Like a lot of people have them here on the top of their forearms. You know, you touch the top of your forearm and it's like, wow, why is that muscle so hard? You know, why does it feel like a rock when, you know, on the other side it feels spongy? Well, the reason is because you're like this typing all the time, and you've got this muscle right here just flexed all day long, and so it starts to form adhesions between the fibers that are running across here. Adhesions is scar tissue. It's to reinforce the position. Your body strengthens that position that you're holding yourself in all the time. And the same thing, you know, it happens with your glutes, it happens with your lower back, it happens all the time. So a lot of times when people have structural injuries or injuries in their joints and things like this, a lot of times it's actually these adhesions and these muscle tissues pulling the joints out of place, So a lot of times their joint issues or back issues can be solved by, you know, sitting on a hard ball and rolling that muscle around with your full body weight on top of that hard ball, and can really help you change your life. Personally, I do this every day. Do it every day. Foam rolling and rolling on a hard ball that has the texture of a rock to break up those adhesions that form between the muscle fiber tissues. Yeah, glad to help, man. All right, so I'm gonna take off now. Been on here for an hour, and I'm gonna finish my workout and go eat. All right, see you guys later.